Today's topic is: girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped, and the guy just didn't get it? I told a guy I liked him. His sister confirmed it multiple times. Nice joke, he says. He never believed any of us, so that was fun. In college, I was in a board game club with a really cute boy. In his defense, I was initially in a relationship when we met, and for several weeks I was trying to set him up with my friend, but then she decided she was interested in someone else. By then I was single, so he and I made plans to have a movie night. The day before the movie night, we had a club meeting and the flirting is off the charts, a ton of giggling, footsie, some random tickling, basically a bunch of obnoxious behavior that was annoying the people we were gaming with. Keep in mind we are the type of awkward nerds to spend our Friday nights at a board game club, so it's considerably less risque than some of the answers here, but still pretty freaking heavy-handed. At the end of the night, I tell him I'm really looking forward to our movie night. The next evening, he comes to my dorm, we build a blanket fort and make some popcorn, get real cozy and start the movie. He doesn't make a move the entire time. The movie ends and the credits roll, and we are sitting mostly in the dark, making super painful small talk and lame jokes about the movie. Finally I give up waiting and kiss him on the cheek. He buries his face in a pillow and says through it, "Do you like me?" "Yes, you dingus. What else could this be? Anyway, we are married now." He was applying for a teaching job for a trade at a local college. I told him he'd be the type of teacher I'd absolutely have a crush on. Later, he told his friend what I had said and his friend had to tell him, "Dude, you know what she means by that." Edit to add, he got the hint and we kiss now. A girl suggested meeting at my place the first time we met, then we were hanging out on my bed. Then she said it was really hot and took off her jumper even though I had the air con on. Then she was like, "Really? When are you going to make a move?" I said I didn't want to be presumptuous or be a creep, lol. Before I started dating my ex, she had her gay friend sleep on the floor and me in her bed after a night out, and I just thought, wow, that's very nice of her, LMAO. I was studying abroad with a friend and there was a student event at the local bars. We had a blast and the night continued to the early hours of the next day. I was hammered and went home and he stayed at the bars and started talking to a Mexican girl. They left the bar to walk around the city just talking. They talked for a couple of hours and ended up in front of the girl's housing complex. She invited him up for a cup of tea at 5 in the morning and he accepted. She wanted to show him some pictures on her phone while sitting on the bed and asked him to come next to her. Bro asked that shouldn't we put the kettle on. She got up and made them some tea and they drank it while talking. An hour or so later bro thanked for the tea and told her that he needs to go to sleep and just left. I could not stop laughing when he told me what happened the next day. Asked this guy from my chemistry class to help me study specifically on Valentine's Day. He brought his entire study group. There were 7 of us crammed in a coffee shop reviewing molecular structures. In college, a girl I had been talking to in a shared class and on breaks one told me, "I just live right around the corner." My dense self replied, "Oh, that's cool, short drive." She wasn't as talkative after that. I always wondered why. I gave a guy a rose and he thought that rose was from his ex-girlfriend. I said, no, she wasn't, and he spent the summer wondering which girl would have given him a rose. He thought I was just the messenger. I once baked heart-shaped cookies for another guy. He thought they were for his mother. I handed him my phone with my contact info already pulled up and said, "You should put your number in here so we can hang out sometime." He looked at it, handed it back and said, "Oh, I don't really use my phone much." My friends still tease me about that one. A waitress wrote her number on my receipt and I told myself right away that she meant to write it somewhere else to keep a note. Didn't realize until weeks later when friends who were out with me asked, "So how'd it go with that waitress who was hitting on you," that I was the dumbest guy alive. I was hanging out with a friend who I had started to develop an interest in. When we got to my doorstep, I deliberately delayed going inside and asked if he had any plans for the rest of the day. Hint hint, I don't. "I have to go home and do my tax returns," came the answer before he jumped on his bike and took off. We got together eventually and dated for a fair time, but the tax return really was a blow to my ego for a while. I asked my now husband to show me what computer games he plays, knowing his computer was in his bedroom. He took me to his bedroom, had me sit on his twin-size bed and played the games for me. After an hour of watching, I asked him to come lay with me on the bed. He said no thank you, we would not fit. After that it took me an additional 6 months to convince him to buy a bigger bed so we could fit. Happened to a mate of mine. Girl driving mate home after a date, they arrive at his place, she says, "I've gotta get up early for work tomorrow but I could probably come in and hang out for a bit." My buddy, "No, it's fine. Go get some rest." Happened over a decade ago but still haunts him to this day. My now girlfriend of 3 years told me about how on our second date, when we were stargazing in her car at night, she pointed at a star that I couldn't see from my side of the car. Naturally I leaned in close to her to see the star because she made it sound really cool. Turns out there is no star. She just wanted me to lean in close to her and I was too distracted by the possibly sight of a cool star to realize. On my first date with my now husband, he invited me back to his place to read me some of his poetry. This man actually read me his poetry until I grabbed his hand and put it on my chest to suggest we do something else. Got him alone in his dorm, door closed and shades drawn, told him I was newly single and wanted to hook up with guys. He told me I should be aggressive. I told him I thought I was being pretty aggressive and he was like, "Haha, good job." Then proceeded to do nothing and I left without anything happening. Had a girl that said she would pay me for a kiss. I thought she was joking even when she kept raising the amount. Still beat myself up for that. We worked together at a restaurant. I had frosting on my fingers after cutting a cake. I made direct eye contact with him while I put my finger in my mouth and sucked it off. We're dating now, but when I asked him if he remembers that, he says he just thought it was a coincidence that I looked at him. Asked my gym crush what he was doing after the gym, he said nothing. He asked me what I was doing after, I said also nothing. Stared at him for a few more minutes longer before eventually walking away. I couldn't have been more obvious. Friend of mine moved countries. We met about 6 months later in a third country for a trip with a couple of our other friends, who were also a couple. We gave them their privacy and took the other room, which had 2 single beds. It's at night, we're chatting about random things and there's a lull in the conversation and I tell him, if we were in the same country, I'd have asked you out. He said, "Oh, but we aren't." We moved on from that and spoke about something else. He never brought it up after that. I don't know to this date if he understood that I liked him. I think he did, but didn't feel the same, so didn't want to make it awkward, but it's never been brought up again. Pushing some guy away. Genuinely, what could be more obvious than pushing someone away from you because you don't want them to touch you? Told a friend he was attractive several times to his face. Didn't work. Asked him if he ever wanted a girlfriend, did not work. Or maybe he got the hints and just did not like me back. Either way, clearly wasn't meant to be. My current GF had to put her number in my phone. I still just thought she was being nice, especially after the first time we hung out we got ice cream and she randomly had to run off and go to her second job even though she had mentioned she didn't work for a few hours. I had a girl do an entire musical number with backup dancers and everything to ask me out. I still thought she was just messing with me. I was literally sitting next to him on the couch while we were watching some random movie, and I told him it's crazy how no one ever cuddles during movies anymore. He just nods and said that times have changed. I even kind of shuffled a bit closer, did the whole accidentally let our arms touch thing. He just kept watching the movie like I hadn't basically written "pick me" across my forehead. One of my classmates held my hand out of nowhere when we were studying together. I said, "Yeah, I'm cold too," and pulled some gloves out of my bag for her. She just laughed and said, "Let's go sit inside if you're cold." I got asked out by a group of girls, for their friend who wanted to go to a dance. They asked, they giggle, and I immediately take it as them messing with me. Look at the girl and she has her face in her hands. I tell them no. And to leave me alone. An afternoon date with a shy nerdy guy turned into a whole day at the park, window shopping, and at the pub, just prolonging the time we spent together while he flirted but also couldn't hold eye contact when I stared at him, and would run my thigh but wouldn't lean in or hold my hand. We went to the bar in the evening and I was so frustrated when we left. By the end of the date, it's like 10 p.m. and he stopped me and asked, "What's wrong? You don't look like you're having a good time," with the saddest look on his face. I wanted to punch him, LOL. I just turned to him and desperately asked him to kiss me. Could see the clogs turning in his head before he leaned in and gave me a passionate kiss, which after he asked, "Do you like me?" I almost killed him, LOL.